let's maybe talk a little bit about where we think Quartz may be headed in the future. Some observations, not necessarily prognostications. Well, actually, certainly not prognostications about the market, but just some interesting things happening in the world of quartz watches.
In the past few years, what we've been seeing is, one very, very obvious example is the oyster quartz. The oyster quartz uptrending for the past year or two, and gaining significant amounts of traction. People seem to be picking up on it again, and we're seeing big brands such as Cartier introducing the solar bead. And I'm not sure how it is in the US, but in London, I've gone into the Cartier shop multiple times, and every single time it's been sold out. So it seems as though, Quartz is somewhat making a revival. We've got the solar beat, we've had the moon swatch, all of these that were well received by the community, by also bringing new people into the watch community. And when you look at the Apple Watch, the uprising of the Apple Watch, it's a bit of a, we don't want to talk about the Apple Watch, but it has seen a a ridiculous increase in popularity. And it almost begs to ask the question of, are people preferring functionality nowadays? And, if that is the case, then we are starting to see a bit of a revival of the quartz movement. And I think, to kind of understand this, that there is a great thread on What You Seek about, it's titled "Why Do People Dislike Quartz?" And it was from earlier this year, I think somewhere end of January, and it's amassed like over 200 um, replies on the thread. And basically, what it comes down to, what it seemed, is that people like craftsmanship of mechanicals and the functionality of quartz. But we know that craftsmanship far exceeds the movement itself, right? Craftsmanship, you're talking about case finishing, dial, hands, overall design. So I think that there is. I am a big fan of quartz in the sense that I would not hesitate to buy a luxury quartz, given that the I'm paying a premium, and that premium goes towards the craftsmanship over the movement.
I think it's interesting at this juncture to reiterate that the Journe is a $50,000 quartz watch. The market says not Journe. Journe says it's worth about 15. The market says this watch that does not have a mechanical movement is worth $50,000. And I think that has everything to do with who's made it. And what's interesting is when you look at the independents, I don't know that anyone other than FP Journe has tried to make a luxury quartz watch this way. How much of that has to do with them not being in a position to do that yet, or just genuinely not interested in doing it? I have no way of knowing, but quartz watchmaking itself is over 50 years old at this point. And it can be thought of as part of the landscape for watchmaking. And so the same way that Journe was convinced that it was a bona fide way of making a watch and went ahead and made one, all you need is one other high-end independent to make that same determination and release some crazy looking quartz piece for quartz to suddenly be back in the discussion again in that same way, in that super polarizing way.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty interesting. And me personally, I'm hoping quartz. We start to share some love for quartz because I think it's just the simplicity of picking up your watch, and not having to set the time, not having to. I personally don't own a watch winder, so a lot of my mechanicals and automatics, I don't. I have to set them every time I pick them up, which is why a lot of the times I actually revert to my quartz pieces.
Right. Yep. Can't beat it in convenience.